Hey guys, this is Andrew at Sports Card Tech. I'm here with my review of Alt, which you can find at onlyalt.com. And today I'm going to dive into all the things that it does well, some of the things it doesn't do or doesn't do well maybe today. And if you're somebody who at this moment uses a tool like Market Movers by Sports Card Investor, or uses Card Ladder, or both of them, or any other tool like that, and you haven't used Alt yet, I think you're probably going to be pretty interested in using it after this. I was originally going to do a comparison between all three of those tools. Instead, I chose to pull Alt out into its own kind of deep dive review that we can do today, and then do the other two tools as more of a comparison, because Market Movers and Card Ladder are more apples to apples as far as what they offer, features, the value, the price points, whereas Alt is similar in some ways, different in some ways, and certainly better in a couple of ways than those other two awesome, market-leading tools. So with that being said, let's log into the interface, because the homepage, as Alt describes themselves, is very minimal. Look, this is it. It's small. There's a picture of cool cards like every website has, some logos. I say this as well, I should caveat that I'm a digital marketer of 10 years, plus experience. So sometimes I just get into a mode where I start, being critical of things that are probably not very important to, the user experience that we're going to go to in a second. But that being said, the homepage is super minimal. It doesn't tell you too much, about the value of the product. And so, to be honest, I didn't log in and use it too deeply until just, the last few weeks, which I now regret, because it's a cool tool, and there's some value that I was missing out on for sure. So with that being said, let's log into the interface. This is the homepage, and Alt is super minimal, at least at this time. And there's nothing wrong with it, because a lot of great products are built, for a single purpose, or just start with something small and grow from there. I should say, as a very relevant aside, they have a ton of money. Alt has a bunch of really smart and wealthy people behind it, including Kevin Durant, the athlete, including Alexis Ohanian, Reddit founder and co-founder. There are a lot of people who have taken some of the momentum and interest in the sports card market as it's grown over the last year or two, especially, and kind of really resurfaced as a huge hobby. NFTs and everything beyond that now. So 31 million in funding is not a small amount at all. So they probably have some pretty aggressive expectations or goals. They also, at this time, have 71 employees, according to LinkedIn, which is huge. For a new company with a single page website and 2 sections of actual functionality, which, again, as long as some things don't need more than one, purpose or function to be valuable. Nothing against that. It's just I was shocked to see that they already have 71 employees. I knew they had, substantial fundraising, but it's exciting. They are in growth mode, and I'll bet if you're seeing this and you live in the Bay, or maybe they're hiring remotely, but if you want to work for a cool sports card company, if I lived in the Bay, I would definitely apply there, because they seem to be well funded and smart and going cool places. So just an aside there for anyone who might be working in tech in the Bay. I know there's a lot of those folks. There are 2 parts of this website here. Once you're logged in, there's the exchange. So just glancing at this quickly, this is a listing. You can see their database, or their, what I'm assuming are cards that are available in their vault for sale, about 5,100 of them. There are 2 elements of functionality to Alt. The pricing and the portfolio management is the part that I've discussed at this moment. There is also a marketplace component, and really there's a third area that they don't really advertise or build, but they offer vault services as well. So perhaps in the near future it'll say vault here as well. Alt is really, at this moment, as I understand it, a kind of a 3-part company. As far as the services they offer, there's the portfolio and pricing tools. There's this exchange, which is basically a marketplace for you to buy, sell, probably trade cards among people who have cards in their vault. And then there's the vault itself. And as I say that now, I'm realizing maybe if I had cards in the vault, there'd be another tab here, or this icon would change, I'm going to guess, because this means unvaulted, the little unlock here. And then I would guess I'd have a scan of the image of the card as well, which there is not. So at this moment, I've added just 1 card. I'm going to add 7 or 8 cards and kind of chat through some of my observations and things I like and don't like. And also some of the differentiators as I see it, from this tool and Market Movers or Card Ladder. So this Ken Griffey Jr. that's in here is, super, I guess, standard card, a well-known card that I started with because I expect every single sports card portfolio management tool out there to have this card in its database, right? It's got a huge pop relative to the fact that it's also got, a huge value, a pop of almost 4,000 now. So point being, it's, highly transacted, has a very well-established market value because there's tons of sales all the time, and it's a highly traded card, highly purchased card. So one thing that stands out for sure is this blank image component, and to me, that's not a problem. Meaning, Market Movers, Card Ladder, many other tools out there, even eBay now with a lot of its automated features, there's a default image provided, and for the most part, like, that's fine, right? If you just kind of want, it's almost like cover art for an album or something. Like, do you really look at it that often? Is it just kind of a representation visually of, what you're scanning through? In the case of a pricing and sort of investing and forecasting tool, like when you search for a card on Card Ladder or Market Movers, a default image is totally fine. Like, that's all anyone really needs. When it comes to a portfolio, I personally want the actual image of my actual card. And I'm going to scan through some of these screenshots I took. These are the cards we'll be working with. And I want to, in my opinion at least, like, look at the actual card I own, which is this card here. So I'm going to, this is funky. I noticed this going through once earlier, you don't want to X out after you upload. You want to click the little save disk, which is not the most intuitive thing, but does make sense. It's not the most difficult thing. Maybe if it was green or a different color, that would make it easier to understand. But it looks nice once you have the image in there. And that's a very straightforward process. Probably not something that's important to everybody, but you can do this list view here without an image showing. You can do this version that has an image showing. You can also do what's basically a gallery that has just images, which would be cool, as well as set up a public gallery, which I have not dabbled with myself, but I think is super cool. I've built out a gallery in PSA's set registry tool, which is a sort of similar concept functionality wise, but it's been around forever. I did a Twitter poll on the Sports Card Tech poll, and only a handful of people have ever really played with the PSA set registry. I don't think it's super popular, but I like it. As far as like if I want to share a virtual album of a personal collection or something like that, it's cool for that, but you do have to take the time to scan or photograph your cards, upload them into a book and send a link to somebody who cares enough to look at that. So I'll leave that up to you. So back to adding a card into Alt. We do that by clicking this Add Asset button. I'll show you the drop down though, because this is the first time I was introduced to the fact they actually have vault services. So I'm sure that part of their growth and 71 plus employee mission will be to better feature and integrate all of these offerings that they have that are super cool and valuable. Let's take a look at this before I add a card, because this is the only thing to look at right now is this page. One thing that's pretty cool, I think, because they're a new company, is they are offering free vault storage right now today. Obviously it says limited time only. That's as of this posting, as of this screen recording. This is a personal, shipping address where my vault, I believe, my items would be sent to, very similar to PWCC's vault and other companies that offer that kind of thing as well. I believe Starstock and there are others out there. So Alt offers vault services. I'm just like, the Alt Vault just sounds like something they need to embrace right there, right? Alt Vault. Again, sorry, I'm a marketer. I can't help it sometimes when these thoughts come out of my head. So that is the vault side of things, but let's add an asset. And so in every single portfolio tool that I've ever used, including, of course, my own spreadsheets that I manage stuff with, kind of still, but before a lot of these tools emerged, you have to add the assets sort of like manually. So in Card Ladder and Market Movers, they have cards that are in their database, right? And if the card's not in their database, then you have to type it in. You kind of have to manually enter it. And that's totally reasonable, right? Like it's reasonable that the Ken Griffey Jr. card I had in there earlier, or this Allen Iverson rookie card would be in there. It's not reasonable to expect like this Population 36 Ichiro rookie Japanese variation to be in there. Like, if it is, cool. And in fact, it is in Market Movers, and probably it is in Card Ladder as well, or at least the English variation is. And, that does its job. There's not a ton of sales of these cards. It's not super important, for them to add it to their database as like a thing that's tracked super accurately. What is cool about Alt is that you can add the cert number for a card. And so when I added the Griffey, I noticed that I didn't read this literally. I just defaulted to, let me type in 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey. And then I noticed you can put a cert number in. So immediately, of course, I'm like, well, let me do a card that is less common. In fact, let's test with this Ichiro first. I'm going to copy the cert number over. And I was like, let me see how this works. Boom, instantly it pulled it up. And I was like, oh, this is not just like pulling in comparable information. This is pulling in somehow or directly from PSA's database, at least the best I can tell, which is super awesome. And I'm like, great, I don't have to title it. I don't have to type extra info. I bought this on, let's go back to July 2020 on the 25th, it looks like, for 2703 on eBay. It's in my PWCC vault at the moment, which I'm adding as a note. And this asset's added. And this is when I got super excited, at least as far as alt being a portfolio tool, is it didn't ask me to provide any other information out there, and it assigned a value. And this is a value based upon pretty much one eBay sale. That sale before this, I wonder what it would have provided, but that one sale now has kind of been adjusted to, the unfortunate but realistic market decline we've seen lately. Hopefully this is the bottom. Most likely it is. In my opinion, right now is a great time to buy. At least established stars and people aren't going anywhere, will always be beloved. And so this is exciting to me because really I think what Alt's doing is taking, it's instead of asking you for information, it's just taking any sale information that it has, in this case just one sale, and then applying a projection to it, which in this case, in my opinion, is very accurate. That card is, as I mentioned, in Card Ladder or as well as Market Movers. A card that is not, though, is one of the few vintage cards I own. I want to own more, but that is this 1949 Bowman Jackie Robinson rookie. It's not the Leaf one, that's really the real rookie, but it's his other rookie. It's his first Bowman, if you will. And when I added this card earlier, I was like, ooh, this is when I decided I'm gonna break Alt out into its own review. Purchased that card on the 14th of 2020 for $25.51, and it is in my PWCC vault as well. We'll add that asset in. This is a card that is not in Market Movers and it's not in Card Ladder. Not to single out that it should be, or that anything's wrong with either of those platforms, but the fact that it is just automatically added as that a value is, in my opinion, accurately calculated automatically for a card based on these historic sales that I currently would have to manually manage either in my own personal spreadsheets that I manage or in Card Ladder or Market Movers until they add it to their database. And again, this is picking on Card Ladder and Market Movers strictly as a portfolio or collection management tool. Those two companies offer so many other things that are especially so valuable to investors. They put out great content all the time. So just talking about portfolio and collection management, I love that Alt, in my opinion, it applies an accurate value. In fact, in the TechCrunch article we were scanning through earlier that had the $31 million funding headline, in that article, at the very end, TechCrunch or somebody quotes the description of Alt kind of applying a Zestimate to cards, just like Zillow does to home prices, which many people are familiar with that idea. It's obviously an estimate. Like no home has an exact price until someone pays that price for it, right? Just like a card in the market or a stock in the marketplace, in the stock marketplace, like things are worth what someone will pay, right? Nothing has a value that is determined by anything other than that. So we use sales estimates and projections and algorithms and data as best as possible to determine a current market value for something. And in my opinion, the way that Alt does this is probably the most accurate as far as there are people who love, the estimates that Redfin provides instead of Zillow. So if this ends up being a Zillow versus Redfin situation, which we're also ultimately evolving into in the sports card world, that's awesome because it just means more data, more accuracy, more transparency, better ability for customers to make smart decisions and use their money wisely. So the fact that these three cards in here all have value, I noticed, this is one thing that, this is not to pick on Alt, but I did notice I have to hit Command R here. I have to refresh for anything I added to actually show up in these charts. Very, very straightforward amount of data. The other major tools out there, have a lot more comparison tools and in-depth charts and all of that. Not that that matters that much, right? Like we're talking about sports cards. The data is helpful. You only need so many pieces of information to make meaningful decisions. But like, it is cool to look at bright and shiny charts and for things to be, flashy and sexy. That's always fun. I love how Card Ladder has dark mode. Like, that's just my preference, but also it's kind of meaningless when it comes to, is it worth paying money for the tool? At least, to most people. So anyways, the charts here are really just a summary over time of, the appreciation and recent depreciation of this collection of 3 cards here. What I am excited about that I haven't quite done yet is, and I don't necessarily need to screen record for everyone, is add every single card that I'm keeping forever that I consider a part of my portfolio to this. And as I went down my list that I have in my own spreadsheet, I came across a sort of specific card that I was like, ooh, if I can add this card easily, which is this card I gift from my dad, the Lakers team set. It's collector's choice team set. A lot of people are familiar with it from Kobe's rookie in it. And it's a card that has, 3 players on it. I was like, this is not a popular card, basically. It's transacted, but it's not something that I would expect the average person to have in their, vault or portfolio. So the ability to add that, I'm just gonna say I paid $10 since my dad gave it to me. I'll fix the date later. So this card does not have an alt value. And so this is the very first card I've seen that didn't have one. And again, this is super specific. There is still historic eBay data, but I'm guessing it's just not quite popular enough, or perhaps someone hasn't added it in their alt vault yet. So it kind of breaks what I thought was the case, which is that every single card you add will get some kind of value added to it. Perhaps that's the case if you send it to their vault. I'm going to guess they value it at something, but unless you're adding really obscure cards, like I consider this one to be, Pop 283, not, totally obscure, but not something necessarily that's like a classic investment card, then, for the most part, it's going to have more accurate pricing for a larger number of cards than the other 2 major tools. The other 2 major tools will have far more tools for forecasting and investing and comparison and, grade ratios and population report comparisons, set comparisons, tons of things that alt does not do well. But in general, at this moment, I believe alt is the simplest, most direct way to get pricing for particularly cards that, you have a cert number, PSA or BGS. The ability to just type in a cert number and get a price and have that added and tracked, to me, that's super powerful. Because short of doing it, in effect, what I hope alt can do, and I'll do a follow-up on this, is if I had everything, my top 40, 50 cards that are in my PWCC vault, my all-time keepers, what I consider my portfolio, if I add those, cert by cert into this, I'm going to guess that it's the most, accurate general idea of what my portfolio is worth, what direction things are going. The only other way I could see to do that right now would require manual labor and update. Assigning prices to something, researching comps, and the other tools have great ways to do that. But in this case, if you want fully automated, tracking of the total portfolio, so far to me at the moment in the market, this is the best tool for that. It is unique in that if you have, especially in my opinion, if you have like vault, let's see if they have highest price. Yeah, that's always fun. So yeah, if you've got any of these cards or anything near this, sending them to the alt vault right now, that would seem like a good idea because it's free. I cannot speak to the quality of the vault services. I have not sent cards in myself. That's something I do plan to do just to have the experience. But it is right now, because it's free, probably a great opportunity, alternative to other vault services for high value cards, or whatever you consider high value, the highest in your collection. One thing I think is missing on their site and from their general presence, and maybe they're going to build this out, I'm guessing they will, they don't seem to have, I don't know how to trust them or why to trust them. I trust that they are serious. I don't mean to be slanderous or negative. I'm sure that they're totally legit. I've heard nothing of, of the opposite, but there's nothing here on the website to like help me feel more comfortable about mailing in, a $20,000 card, whatever it is. Just something that I think could be improved massively. And, I do know they have a chat team that is away because it's the holiday. But it is something I think that, yeah, among other things that they could really make a priority and do better. But, you know, as far as the engine and the data behind this that determines values, I think it's a fantastic tool for the average, you know, graded card that is transacted, and it is good for that. There aren't many other things that excite me about it right now. However, the seriousness with which they are taking this, you know, endeavor as a business, as a, you know, major player in the marketplace, the more that they grow, I'm assuming they're they have they've raised the most, you know, funding of any player in the sports cards industry that I'm aware of, or alternative asset industry outside of all the alt cryptocurrency NFT stuff. Just as far as people that do cardboard, I'm going to guess that they're going to be doing a lot more. So this is just my first opinion, my first review of what's possible in there today. I will absolutely be adding all the cards in my collection, or in my kind of portfolio vault into this, and be comparing how it tracks and measure, market price over time, in comparison to, and as well as, card ladder market movers, and my own spreadsheet. Because my own spreadsheet is ultimately the source of truth, right? Because the value I put in there, whatever I say the market value is probably some hybrid of, data from many, many places. And that's the only real way, is to use your brain to some degree, of course. When you're looking at the value of your portfolio, you cannot rely 100% on the robots. But this is a good way to rely almost entirely on them, but, intercept when you want with your own thinking, your own tweaks. Because one thing I guess that's assumed that it would be possible, but if you get a value assigned to a card, of course you can change it. Your data will change correspondingly. So of course you don't, just like your estimate or other things, you don't have to take it as more than just a suggestion. And that's really, I think, what a lot of us are looking for in a portfolio tool. Especially one that, tracks prices daily, which all those major platforms do, which is great. And one that, lets you quite easily see trends, which this does here, especially when you're thinking about the long term. If you're looking at day-to-day flipping mentality, this is probably not a tool great for that. If you're looking for ways to really understand like forecasting and ability to look ahead, not a great tool for that. There are much better tools for that out there. But just to see, where the 50, 60, 100,000 cards you own, graded BGS or PSA that you just kind of want to hang on to, and see in general, as a whole or individually, what do those values look like over time? This is a cool tool for that, and I definitely recommend it. And yeah, that's kind of it for now, though. I'm excited for it to grow into more than that. So hopefully this is valuable to people that are listening still at this point. I'll be posting a full review on the site as well at sportscardtech.com. This is the first full video I've filmed since kind of taking a break from the project, wrapping up a lot of my previous full-time job responsibilities and other things in life, so I can focus a lot more on this effort, because there is just way too much cool stuff coming out in the sports cards and technology world, not to have more people talking about it, thinking about it, reviewing it, diving into it. That's what I'm here for. That's what I love to do. Look forward to doing more of that. So thanks for tuning in. Be sure to subscribe or check out our email list at sportscardtech.com so you can get updates. Those are all good ways to stay in touch. Take care. Thanks for listening.